It's time for Jon David On Law, a legal perspective with Prosecutor Jon David, candidate for District 13 District Attorney. For more information about Jon David's campaign to bring honest, integrity-driven law enforcement to Bladen, Brunswick, and Columbus counties, please check out his website at jondavidforda.com. And now, along with Jon David, here's the host of the program, Robbie Kendall.
Well, hello again, everybody, and we welcome you into another exciting edition of Jon David On Law, our chance to chat with Prosecutor Jon David. And, John, it was pretty obvious in the primary, where we found out who your opponent was going to be for District Attorney this fall. People were voting for change. They were voting for something different, and now they're going to have a chance really to vote for something different this November at the ballot box. What are the differences between you and your opponent that they're going to have to choose from?
I think the most immediate difference is that I'm a career prosecutor. Since the day that I've graduated law school, I've stood on the side of victims and worked with police to achieve justice in all cases. On the other side of things, my opponent is a career criminal defense attorney who's never prosecuted a case. And so I would say the clearest difference between us are our backgrounds.
And it should be pointed out, though, he must be popular with some people because he had a pretty resounding victory in his Democratic primary.
Well, you know, Butch seems like a really nice guy, and I would never take issue with that. And let me just say this, too. I wasn't at all surprised by the results of the primary. It was evident to me that as I walked around this community and talked to people, that they wanted change. They believed their DA's office should be far more than it is. And so I sensed that before the primary even happened, people were going to be voting for change. Well, now we realize the change has come, and the question moving forward is, what kind of change do you want in the courthouse?
And I'm no expert when it comes to knowing the law, and just like you, I know Butch very well. He's a very nice guy. But it would seem if you're unhappy with the level of justice being administered by your current prosecutor, you'd probably want to replace him with a better, tougher prosecutor and maybe not fall back on a defense attorney.
Well, I guess you could put it this way, too. It's no time for on-the-job training. You know, the problems of our area are profound, and we should never mistake the idea that just because someone knows something about criminal law, that they know anything about crime fighting. It's a completely different set of skills. And so what I am here to talk about today is really my track record and experience and why I believe that equips me to be the best candidate to be your district attorney.
You know, John, talk is cheap, and in election year we hear it from everybody about, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. How do we know that your change is real change that people obviously want based on the primary results?
Well, you're right. Talk is cheap. You know, candidates will promise you the world. What we need to look at when we look at a district attorney is truly their track record and experience. What have they done in their life, which gives us some type of glimpse into the future as to what type of district attorney they will be. And I guess what distinguishes my candidacy from that of my opponent is I've already done the job of prosecutor. I have been a prosecutor for 15 years. I have worked with cops. I've worked for victims. I know what it means to be a public servant. I am certain that I am well positioned to make an immediate and positive impact when elected.
Obviously, as we've said a couple times now, change was voted for on the Democratic side in the primary. What do you think was kind of going on, and why do you think your opponent did so well as the anti-incumbent?
Well, you know, it's not really a Democrat issue or a Republican issue. It's a human issue. And I believe that there was this perception out there that the office was broken. And so people were rightfully voting for change. And now that change has come, we need to ask ourselves what kind of change we want. You know, my opponent and I are very different men. There's a clear choice in this election. I'm asking people to focus in on the man, the track record, the experience, the commitment that he has, and make the best decision for the safety of our children.
Was there an issue or issues or case or cases, do you think, that decided people to go one way versus another, or was it just a culture as a whole?
That question is probably better directed to the voters, and people make decisions for all manner of reasons. But I think it was just an abiding belief that full justice was not being achieved, that criminals were not being adequately prosecuted, that the right thing wasn't happening in the courtroom. Part of that, I believe, is that justice was done in the back room rather than the courtroom. A cornerstone of my philosophy will be to explain my behavior, to talk about the biggest cases in the media, to the community, to civic groups, and let people know where I stand and why.
John, let's end today's conversation kind of where we started, which is either way, you or your opponent, change is coming. Why is your version of change better?
That's a good thing for this area. The change has come. We need to replace our district attorney with a career prosecutor. I believe I'm the best choice because given my track record and experiences, we can all have confidence that I'm going to make an easy transition into this role, that I will be a true partner with law enforcement, a strong voice for victims, and give true justice under law.
All right, Jon, thanks a lot as always for your time. We appreciate it, and we'll look forward to chatting with you again in the very near future with another edition of Jon David On Law.
Thanks for listening to Jon David On Law, a legal perspective with Prosecutor Jon David. Jon David, candidate for District 13 District Attorney, invites you to learn more about his plan to bring honest, integrity-driven law enforcement to Bladen, Brunswick, and Columbus counties by visiting his website at jondavidforda.com. Tune in next time for another edition of Jon David On Law.